Welcome back, everybody, to another Q&A here at I'm Not a Coach. I'm your host, Dave Huerta. Thank you so much for joining us. And wow, what a week leading up to the Super Bowl here, man. Just checking to see if my audio should be working. Hopefully, let me know if I sound weird at all. But yeah, man, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I completely forgot that the NFL awards or honors was last night. In my head, it's still the night before the Super Bowl, like they used to a couple of years ago. I think it's been like 3 years since they stopped doing that, which is for the best, to be honest with you. It was always an awkward kind of thing, especially with like players that were in the Super Bowl. Like now, guys like Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley can actually attend the NFL honors, so I think it's better to do it on the Thursday. So, but yeah, I completely forgot. So obviously did a little bit of a catch up, and we will actually talk about those as well. Some of those awards, just the major ones, coach, MVP, clearly, all those other ones. But yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling here, man. So let's check it out here. Let me see here. Boom. Thank you. All right, let's go. So we're going to start out with some of the smaller news. This was a couple days ago, almost about 4 or 5 days ago, but we're going to talk about this guy right here, Myles Garrett, who is at this point is the bachelor of all the other 31 teams. Almost every single one of these teams in the NFL, outside of maybe Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and I was gonna say I don't think he's gonna go to any other team, even Cincy. But outside of those three teams, I think everybody wants this guy. While the price may vary on some teams, I know, but I guarantee you there is probably more than half of the NFL is willing to give up a first round and probably even two to get this guy. Now, we know that Myles has said before when he requested a trade, he is looking for a title. He's not looking for a lot of money, or I should say a big contract, even though he probably is going to get one regardless. Despite what many players say, they want the ring, but they also want money, and that is not a bad thing. These guys are putting their bodies through hell, week in and week out, months after months, years after years. They know that their time at the top to get as much money is finite. They have 5 to maybe, and I mean maybe 8 years, where they can get top dollar. Myles Garrett still has a couple more years left. He's probably going to have at least one more contract. Odds are he will not be the highest paid player at his position or even in the NFL, but he's going to get a big contract, whoever ends up trading for him. But on top of that, he wants to specifically go to a contender. So that is going to be a small group of people, a small group of teams, so anywhere between 4 to maybe 7. And I think we know which teams, obviously in the AFC, Kansas City, Buffalo, both those teams. I think Buffalo has a little bit more cap room, especially after this season where they were so cap constrained. They were basically, trying to build a team with one hand tied behind their back. They're going to have a little bit more room. They're going to have to kind of finagle the cap, but we have seen in the past, we've seen Kansas City, we've seen other teams be able to somehow find and scrounge anywhere between $10 to $30 million in their cap. And for a guy like Myles Garrett, there's going to be teams that are going to be willing to do a lot to get him in there. So I think Buffalo has a chance. We'll see if he wants to go there. They have Von Miller. Odds are Von Miller will be gone if the Buffalo Bills actually get a chance at Myles Garrett. Obviously, the other one is Kansas City. Their cap is a little bit tighter. especially with some of the guys that they are likely going to have to pay after this massive run. But we've seen it before. We always think, oh, they're not going to be able to do anything. Well, Kansas City finds a way. David Stegosaurus, hello. I have trouble completely forgiving him for using a helmet as a weapon. That is, I remember watching that game live, and it was wild. I was like, holy cow, this is like more than just a fight or like, basically a mosh pit. This is like, dude, somebody might actually there might be some blood, and I don't think he drew blood, but dude, that thing, I mean, he used not the crown, but like the kind of like the bottom part of there that's almost unprotected. Dang, dude, yeah, that was a wild night. Was it Mike Pouncey or Marquise Pouncey? Like, ended up like on the ground, just going crazy. That was yeah. It is tough to see Myles Garrett. I think there are some teams that are like, maybe not, but I don't remember if he's had anything. I don't think he had anything before, and I don't think he's had anything since. Not 100% sure. I did not do the research. Sorry. But yeah, that one is. I think that's still really in a lot of people's minds when we think of Myles Garrett. Great player. Clearly is loved by the city of Cleveland, but that was a rough look for, I think, the NFL, but also for Myles. But yeah, man, that was a wild night. But we've seen the NFL, and we've seen many teams be willing to look the other way for a great player, and right now Myles Garrett is still very much a great player. Does he have many years at that level? I don't think so. He might have 2 years left, maybe 3. He's definitely getting up there in age in terms of NFL age. But I guarantee you there's going to be a couple teams that are going to be willing to shell out some draft picks and maybe some cash as well. But yeah, we talked about the teams in the AFC. I don't think he's going to be traded to Baltimore or Cincy or the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's no way Cleveland trades him in the division unless those 3 teams are willing to give up multiple first rounds, multiple early round picks. I mean, I'm talking about like 2 to 3 first, or 2 to 3 second and thirds. Like, that's the only way I see him being traded within the division. I don't think it's going to happen. I want to say Miami might have a chance, but I don't know their cap. I know they've been really constrained, especially signing Tua and all these other guys. So I doubt he'll be able to go there. Like I said, he wants to go to a contender, so I think that kind of takes out the Jets, takes out the Patriots, things like that. But now moving to the NFC, you have a few more teams that you could see him being traded to. The Commanders are one of those teams. They have a plenty of cap space, plus maybe some draft capital, even though they lost some of it with the trade with Marshawn Lattimore. Detroit, obviously, I'm not sure what their cap situation is, but I don't think they're in a bad shape. Luckily, a lot of their really good players, especially defensively, and the running backs are either rookie contracts or they're relatively cheap. So they tried with Za'Darius. I think it looked good for one game, but unfortunately Z just did not have enough in the tank, man. He's I love Z. I know he doesn't love Green Bay anymore. It didn't end well, but I still love the guy, but he's not the player that he was, or the pass rusher that he was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. But Myles Garrett, I could see him going to Detroit, man. I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it, but I could see it. Green Bay, I think they're going to be in the conversation. I just don't think Green Bay is going to want to pull the trigger. They love their draft picks. It would be a massive, massive change in culture, or at least the way that they do business. It would be a massive change, and I think Green Bay would have to give up multiple early round picks, and I don't see Goody doing that. Even though he has shown that he is not Ted Thompson, he has been willing to take risks in free agency and things like that, but we'll see. I think Green Bay is on the list, but it might be lower on the list. David, in division, I charge more, but Also, it's Cleveland. They don't even deserve getting a 12-pack of beer for them. Yeah, man. Let's be honest. Cleveland has they don't have at least as an organization, they don't have a whole lot of goodwill in the NFL. You get the Deshaun Watson, you got the how cheap they have been throughout their tenure. Yeah, it just seems like obviously the way that they treated Baker, basically after getting them to the playoffs for the first time, getting them a playoff victory, probably for the first time since they came to Cleveland, or back to Cleveland, I should say. Yeah, it's that's a franchise that definitely has not ingraced themselves to a lot of the fans in the NFL. But I think they could at least get an 18 pack for Myles Garrett. I think at least an 18 pack, like the tall boys. Definitely not a 30 pack. Not one of those. But yeah, man. Let me see. I'm trying to think of another team that he could go to. Minnesota. I'm not sure what their cap space is right now, but I mean, imagine him in that defense, man. He would be absolutely great, man. Especially on that defensive, you can move him around all over the line, and I think he would do well. The Bears, they have a lot of cap room right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the conversation as well, but I don't think he's going to want to go there. I'm trying to think who else. Obviously, Philly is one of those teams. That's clearly the case. They are in the Super Bowl. They'll probably be in Super Bowl contention for the next couple of years, as long as Saquon and Jalen Hurts are still playing at a high level offensively, and that defense can play better. Trying to think, man. You can go with the Rams, but I think they're going to want to stay with the youth, especially defensively. They have looked amazing, and once again, they're cheap. So, we've seen the Rams. They won a Super Bowl by trading away picks. I think they're done with that for now, and I think they're going to want to build through the draft. David, they screwed over Baker. I'm happy he has found success. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think, in my opinion, how did Baker... I guess he did play last year as well. So I think Baker, I would have liked to see him win Comeback Player of the Year, but I know that's usually reserved for like injuries and things like that. So, but yeah, it would have been nice to see Baker get some love outside of just the fan bases that really enjoy him this season. But yeah, man, yeah, they really screwed Baker on that one. It's you can tell that he took offense to it. He took it, as Michael Jordan would say, and I took it personally. So, but yeah, man, I can't think of any other team that I think would be in contention for Myles. I think Detroit, Green Bay is in there, Minnesota is in there, the Eagles, the Commanders. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. The Cowboys, I don't think so. They're kind of in a little bit of a mini rebuild at this point. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting where he goes and what he's gonna garner, man. It's pretty contentious. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere in the NFC South. Oh, Denver, yeah. Denver, maybe. The only reason I think he may not go to Denver is, one, Denver does have some cap room for sure. I just don't know. I guess with a player like Myles Garrett, you'll make him fit the scheme no matter what. You'll scheme around him. But I don't know if Myles wants to go there. I think that offense might still be a little bit up and down for him. I don't think anybody would say that the Broncos were Super Bowl contenders. And it's still kind of up in the air whether they are going to be next year. I think they're a really good team, and I think if they can continue to build, I wouldn't be surprised if within a year or two they are kind of, getting there. But I think it might be a little early for Denver. But I do like that, man. That'd be really interesting. I think that would be their best defensive player that Denver has had since Von Miller left. But yeah, Indianapolis, no. Houston might make a run at him, maybe, but I don't know if they want to use up the cap or use the draft capital for a guy that's probably only going to be playing there for 2 years, maybe 3 at the most. But yeah, I'm looking at the NFC South. I don't see him going anywhere there. Maybe Tampa, but I doubt it. I wish Bo Nix success and the Broncos failure. Hot dang, David. That is fair, man. That is fair. Yeah, man. Bo Nix, man. I think he surprised a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie, he surprised me. I didn't think he was gonna be bad. I thought he was gonna be more of a. I thought he was gonna be Drew Brees light. I was like, okay, he's gonna be able to throw some stuff down the field. But most of it is gonna be coming underneath. But he really surprised me, man. There were some really great throws. I think it was during it was a primetime game. I can't remember if it was Monday night or Sunday night, but it was a great throw. I can't remember if it was the Chargers or the Saints. But either way, it was a great throw over the middle, man. Just an amazing throw by Bo Nix. But yeah, man, I like the Broncos. I think they're going to be in contention for the playoffs for a good chunk of time. I think the biggest thing is that Kansas City has just been so dominant that I think it's going to be tough for them to win division titles. At least for the next 3 to 5 years, maybe. It might be less. I don't know. Kansas City is getting up there in age. But as long as, Mahomes is doing this thing, I think it's going to be very, very tough for anybody in that division to win home field advantage. All right. So let's move on from Myles Garrett, and let's and we'll save the Super Bowl preview for towards the end here. I don't want to spend too much time on the awards, but I'll try to definitely talk about them absolutely, because I don't want to just kind of gloss over them with with a wave of a hand. So we'll definitely talk about it. Please, David, anybody else that is here, man. Please comment below. I want to hear what you think of these awards. I definitely have opinions, but I want to hear yours as well, man. David, Stegosaurus, Chargers are no joke now either. Oh, absolutely, man. I think they peaked early in the season, and I think by the end of the season they were really struggling. Their running game was injured. They were kind of running out of running backs there. The receiving depth was not where it needed to be. And I think the defense needs another year, for sure. I think they need a little bit more talent in the front seven. Their pass rush was very hot and cold for most of the season. I would say more cold than anything else. But yeah, man, it's the Chargers. That division is going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Kansas City like it's been the last couple of years. Especially as Kansas City's guys begin to retire, some of those stalwarts like Kelsey and Mahomes gets up there in age, and it's going to be more and more difficult to surround Mahomes with talent as the contracts get bigger, as some of these guys leave, like these receivers, these running backs who are eventually not going to be able to get paid by Kansas City. So all right, so let's talk about the first award, and that is going to be the Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings. It hurts to see it, but I can't disagree with it. I actually agree with it. I really I like what Kevin O'Connell did. Obviously, a couple coaches that I think they were up for it for sure. Sean McVay, what he did with the Rams, nobody thought that the Rams were going to be awful, but I don't think anybody expected their defense, especially this young defense, to be as dominant as they were, especially towards the end. I think they racked up 15 or 16 sacks during those 2 playoff games. They sacked Darnold 9 times, and then I think they racked up another 6 or 7 in the loss in the divisional round. That front seven was playing dang well. Unfortunately, the offense kind of sputtered towards the end. So I think they definitely need some more help on the offensive line. They were kind of injured a little bit as well, but yeah, I think Sean McVay could have been there. Matt LaFleur, I think there's been seasons where I believe Matt LaFleur should have won. This was not one of them. I don't think he was bad at all. I think he was one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think he's been one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I say that as a biased Packer fan, but I'm also trying to be unbiased. Having said all of that, Kevin O'Connell, the coaching job that he did, man, when they lost J.J. McCarthy in the preseason, everybody was like, oh, they have Sam Darnold. We've seen what he's done. He is not a starting quarterback. He is a guy that is a backup who can come in and keep the offense running for a bit until the starter comes in or comes back. And everybody was like, oh, this season is basically over. They might finish somewhere around 500. Maybe they'll play for the playoffs. And then, dang, dude, literally the final week of the regular season, they had a chance to win the number 1 seed and get home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. That's how good this team was. And Detroit, Philly, those teams were on borderline historic runs. And the Vikings were step by step with them. So, yeah, Sam Darnold, that Vikings defense basically came back to life after a couple seasons of kind of a little bit of mediocrity. They weren't terrible, but they were not as good as we're kind of used to seeing the Vikings defense, especially during the mid to slightly almost late 2010s. And yeah, man, they had a little bit of a resurgence. That defense played really well. It was a mix of young guys, older guys like Harrison Smith. And, man, dude, that offense just kept on clicking, man. Those receivers finally started to really gel together. Aaron Jones, along with Cam Akers, really were able to keep the offense running. And Sam Darnold, up until the final 2 weeks or at least the final 2 games of the Vikings season, was almost, at times, especially early on, was playing like an MVP candidate. He kind of mellowed out towards the end. And then, unfortunately, the last 2 games he played his worst 2 games. It's as simple as that. He played his worst 2 games. He probably lost himself a lot of money and probably an opportunity to be the number 1 guy somewhere else, or at least maybe even with the Vikings. I think now people see Sam as more of like a guy that if he's in the right system, if he has the right kind of players or weapons, he might be good. Not great, but good to very good. Yeah. So, Kevin O'Connell, heck of a coaching job. I agree with it. I think he was the coach of the year. Let me know what you think. All right. Let's move on to Defensive Rookie of the Year, since we talked a little bit about the Rams, and that is Jared Verse, man. He was selected 19th overall by the Rams. Linebacker, basically edge rusher there. And his numbers don't really like pop off at you. Like they're like, it's not, 15, 20 sacks, a bunch of forced fumbles or crazy interceptions. But man, dude, this kid, along with the other young front seven players just absolutely got better and better and better every single week, man. And this kid was doing the things that you were kind of seeing from, and I'm not comparing him by any means, but Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, I'll say right now, one of the top 10, one of the greatest, I don't even want to put a number on it, one of the greatest generational defensive players we've ever seen. Like, this guy is going to be up there, whether, how good was he? Is it Reggie White? Is it Aaron Donald? Like, he is in that category. That's how good Aaron Donald is. Jared Verse just finished his rookie season. I am not comparing anything, but what I'm saying is even when Darnold did not have the crazy sack numbers, not Darnold, Donald, even when he didn't have those crazy sack numbers or like the massive splash plays, you could tell that the offense was so geared, so focused on him at times, or for most of the game, honestly, that it allowed the other guys around him to make plays. And when Jared Verse, when he was on, this kid, you could tell teams were like, hey, let's get some extra protection on this side. Where's number 8? Where's number 8? Things like that. You saw that, and it allowed guys like Foskey and oh my goodness, I can't remember the other guy's name, but it just allowed his teammates to make plays. And I mean, you saw it, man. It was crazy. His numbers: 4.5 sacks, 66 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. He had 76 pressures, and like right there, outside of the 76 pressures, none of those numbers would be like, oh yeah, this is a rookie of the year. This is a borderline one of the best players in the NFL. But man, it was just the consistency that this kid got better and better every week, and it was amazing, man. This is a kid that I was hoping the Packers would look. He was kind of a once again an edge rusher, which the Packers, in my opinion, needed. I know they had just drafted Lucas Van Ness the previous year, but I mean, you can never have too many pass rushers, man. They're like offensive linemen. You if they're good, you're gonna find a way to get them on the field. And this is a kid that I really liked coming out of college, but couldn't happen. And but the Rams got a really great one. And yeah, man, this kid, I'm just gonna be so interested to see how he improves. Not even number wise, just technique. How consistent can he be? He was already really one of the best out the gate. It was a little bit of a slow start the first month, I would say, but then you just saw the exponential growth from this kid. And when you pair him with all the other young guys that they have on that team, especially the front seven of that defense, Braden Feisky, fellow rookie defensive tackle that was with him as well, man. And dude, you got a team that is going to be, if they can draft for that secondary that was really good, but at times you could tell that was the weaker part of that defense. If they can seal up the corners and add another safety, that defense is going to be one of the biggest headaches for offensive-minded coaches in the NFL. So, heck of a job by Jared Verse, heck of a rookie year, and I can't wait. As a football fan, I'm excited to see this kid continue to play. And hopefully he continues to build on this, man. That kid was exciting to watch. But let me know, do you think there was another player that was that should have been either gotten the award, or maybe somebody that you think is a little bit underrated as a rookie defensive player there? There's a couple that come to mind. Like I said, I think I mentioned Braden Foskey, also drafted by the Rams. This one in the second round. He played pretty darn well. I think he had actually more sacks than Verse, I believe. Let me look that up here while we wait. But yeah, let me know. Yeah, Braden, he racked up 8.5 sacks, so 4 more than Verse. Dang, dude. Colby Turner, that's who I was thinking of. Number 91. There we go. Yeah, Kobe Turner. He was he drafted last year? Yeah, third round pick last year. That's another guy that I wish the Packers would have picked up, man, in the third round. He would have been great. But yeah, he racked up 8 sacks. Turner did. So yeah, just between those guys, man, just between those 3 guys, over 20 sacks. Just insane. And how's the audio, guys? It sounds good in my headset here. I just want to make sure it's coming through pretty clear. All right, moving on to another rookie. This one was, I don't want to say more impressive than Verse, but historically, definitely is going to be talked about for a long time. And that is, of course, Jaden Daniels, the second overall pick in this year's draft. Where to begin with this kid, man? The first month, historic. This kid was on pace to potentially win not only Offensive Rookie of the Year, but this kid was playing like an MVP the first 4 to 5 weeks. First 2 games were not incredibly like when it comes to touchdown throws and passing yardage, it wasn't amazing. But in terms of efficiency, pass percentage, just the ability to get the ball out in rhythm into his playmakers' hands, it was impressive. Obviously, stuff on the ground as well. His legs are as big of a weapon as his arm. And yeah, this kid he just went off. And just from the get-go, this kid was playing amazing. And he had everything you wanted in a rookie quarterback. He had the big plays. Obviously, we're talking about the Hail Mary against the Bears. Those wow moments that go, holy cow, did that kid just do that? He had great throws that just boggled your mind at times. Like, a lot of them went to Terry McLaurin, to be honest with you. Then he had some crazy runs. I think, let me see, he rushed for more yards, 891 than any other rookie in history. And he had 25 total touchdowns, 15 of them coming in the last 5 games that he played. He threw less than 10 picks, which is pretty crazy for a guy that threw as much as he did. Let me see here. He threw more touchdowns in the fourth quarter of overtime than any rookie in history. And obviously the biggest one, got his team to the playoffs for the first time in, 20 years? Since basically he was like 4 years old. That's how long ago it was. And not only did he get them to the playoffs, they won in the wild card. They won in the divisional round. And they were 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl. And like you can just tell that not only this kid but also the coaching staff, a lot of what is happening in Washington is I know it became a meme for a long time, and I think hopefully if this continues for Washington, it'll become less of a meme and it'll become like, oh, okay. But it did change the culture. The culture is damn fine now, man, or it's damn good. And that's exciting, man. I think I talked about this on the stream. I think I even talked about it during their last game against the Eagles. It is, as a fan of football, it's great to see teams that have been struggling that can get away from really crappy owners like Dan Snyder. It's great to see fans that were once getting poo water dumped on them while they were trying to watch a game in their seats. It is great to see that things are improving, not only on the field, but hopefully in the stands, in the locker room, in the offices, everywhere. Hopefully it is getting better, and hopefully we don't have to hear any other crappy situations that what the heck was going on during the Snyder era. Whether it's treating people like garbage or all this other stuff that we will not mention because it's hopefully it is going to be taken care of or it's been taken care of. But yeah, man, it's just great to see football be the focus of a team instead of all the other crap. And hopefully it stays that way, and hopefully that means that the culture is actually continuing to be great in that franchise for a while. So shout out to those fans that stuck with their team through the name changes, through the ownership change, and through the changing of coaches, quarterbacks. Hopefully they finally found their franchise quarterback. Hopefully they found their next 5 to 10 years of good football, because as a Packer fan, I have grown up watching great football for a long time. Yes, we only have 2 Super Bowls to show for it. Some fans see that as a failure of, the management. I don't care, man. I've been able to watch 2 Super Bowls for my franchise. I've been able to watch some incredible games, some nail biters, some losses, some massive, unbelievable wins. And I love it, man. It is so great to be a fan when you have a chance, when you can look forward to every single week that you could win. And I hope every fan base at some point gets that feeling. But not too long, okay? Only like 3 or 5 years, all right? I want my Packers to win a lot, all right? I'm selfish too. But yeah, anyway, heck of a job by Jaden Daniels, man. Hopefully this kid can continue to build on an incredible, historic rookie season. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see what this kid can bring. All right, let's go next with Defensive Player of the Year, man. So Patrick Surtain, not too surprising. This guy has been on the cusp of greatness since he was drafted. Top 10 pick, I think it was number 9 for the Broncos in 2021. And yeah, the kid, ever since he came in, man, you could just tell the talent was there. Not just to be a very good corner or a number 1 corner, he had the talent to be the best corner in the NFL. And we, especially nowadays, everybody's like, oh, this is the guy. This is, because the contracts, you become the highest paid corner in the NFL. Jair was the highest paid corner for a while, then it became somebody else. I don't know. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's not about the contracts, because those are always going to have to go up, and it should be, because these guys deserve to get paid regardless. But I'm talking about the Darrelle Revises. I'm talking about the Tre'Davious Whites. I'm trying to think here of another corner, but I can't think of anything right now. But I'm talking about those guys that are not necessarily always consistently the highest paid. They may not even be winning Defensive Player of the Year, multiple times. But you can clearly tell that when they get thrown the ball, they may not intercept it, but there's a damn good chance, man, that thing is not going to be caught. Whether it was because of great coverage, he's knocking it away, or he just makes a great play on the ball while the receiver's trying to haul it in. It doesn't matter, the coverage, whatever it is. You can tell that Pat Surtain is one of those guys. I'm not going to put him in the realm of Revis yet. Obviously, he's still very young. This is only, his fourth, actually. 2021, 22, 23. Yeah, so 4th full season. But it is tough to argue that this kid is probably not, it's going to be tough to argue that this kid is not going to be one of the best corners, if not the best corner, for the next couple of years. He's barely 24. He's going to turn 25 in a couple months. And this kid is just about to enter his prime. And he's already got a Defensive Player of the Year to his name. Charles Woodson. Jesus, that was the name I was trying to think of. How could I forget Chuck? Jesus. Sorry, Charles. Sorry. Sorry, I just got off of work, guys, and I'm exhausted. and my brain is kind of fluttering a little bit. But man, dude, it's But yeah, no, Patrick Surtain. Here's the numbers: 34 tackles, one forced fumble, 4 picks, and 11 pass breakups. Once again, not anything flashy, but when you put the tape on, when you look at the numbers of the opposing receiver that goes up against him one on one, that tells the story. It is not what the numbers that he is given; it's the numbers that he takes away that are the reason this guy won Defensive Player of the Year. It was impressive, and it's great to see a corner finally win something. It's been a while. I think it's been close to 6 or 7 years, maybe, since we've seen a corner win Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm gonna be double checking my homework here, but yeah, but Patrick Surtain, heck of a season, and hopefully for the Broncos' sake, and hopefully for Perna's sake, Pat Surtain can stay healthy and can just continue to be a problem for receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, offensive coaches, whatever it is. So, great season. Stephon Gilmore was the last corner or non-front seven player to win it. Did it in 2019. And after that, it was a while. The last guy to do it after those two, or before those two guys, was you have to go all the way back to 2010, and that was Troy Polamalu. Charles Woodson won it the year before, so there's a little bit of a run there for the secondary during 2009, 2010. And 2010 was actually the year it was him, Troy Polamalu, and Clay Matthews. I think Clay finished second, so. But yeah, man, it's been mostly defensive ends, linebackers for a while, so. All right, moving on to the offensive player of the year, and we know who it is. In my opinion, this guy probably should have been MVP, but at this point, the MVP is really just a quarterback award. It should just honestly be called best, most valuable quarterback. Let's be honest with you. Like Adrian Peterson was the last guy to win it, and that was closing in on 13 years ago. So, but offensive player of the year, and that is Saquon Barkley, a man who in less than 2 days is going to take the field and try to bring Philly its second Super Bowl title, and it would be his first, and it would cap off one of the greatest, absolute greatest seasons by a running back in NFL history. When it comes to the stats, when it comes to on-field success, wins, and obviously a championship, it's going to be tough to argue that this is not one of the best seasons. It's already one of the best. But if Saquon can have even just a moderately good game and get his team a victory on Sunday, it is going to be something that fans are going to be talking about for a long time. And I hope it happens, man. I am rooting for Saquon in the Super Bowl. I can't root for the Eagles because they knocked off my Packers. It would be cool to see the Chiefs win 3 because it has never happened. But man, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, David. I apologize. But Saquon, what can I say that hasn't been said about this guy, man? Like when it comes to having a memorable and historic season, you have to do a lot of things. You have to break records. Let me see here. Saquon can have a good enough game to be memorable, but Chiefs win. You know what? It wouldn't be my preferred ending, But if that were to happen, I'll be like, all right, Saquon got his a little bit. That's fair. But yeah, so Saquon became the 9th player in NFL history to reach 2,000, and it's a very distinctive, because he didn't do it in 17. He didn't even play the last game. He did it in 16, which I think is something that needs to be noted, especially when it comes to, ever since the NFL kind of moved on to the 17, and they're obviously talking about adding one more, you're going to start to see a lot of these records get broken. And it's one of those things where I wish the NFL would separate the record books a little bit, or at least make it distinctive of, hey, this guy broke the record, but he did it in, blah, blah, blah. I know what the NFL is doing. It sounds better. It's easier to sell. Oh, this guy broke the record. He's now the best or whatever. But I think that being Saquon, I think it was very important for him and his legacy that he did it in 16 games, which outside of O.J. Simpson, all the other 8 players, along with Saquon, did it in 16 games. O.J. did it in 14, and that was the era of the 14-game season. So, yeah, man, it's so Eric Dickerson obviously still has the highest in a season. But, man, dude, it has been just an absolute dominant performance, man. Barkley, he dominated in the wild card. He dominated in the divisional round, and he played darn well against a really solid Commanders defense. This guy, if he can have another crazy game against a Kansas City defense that has been susceptible to some top backs. We saw it with Derrick Henry, and it wouldn't be surprising if Saquon was able to just rip off at least a $125, a $150, and maybe a pair of touchdowns. It would not surprise me. But yeah, it's like I said, I think Saquon should have been MVP. I get why they gave it to the guy that we'll talk about here in a bit, but to me, it was more impressive what Saquon was able to do, especially it's not like he has a bad quarterback. We're like, oh, we have to run the ball because we can't get the ball to our talented receivers because the guy that's chucking the ball sucks. It's not that. We've seen Jalen Hurts. He was a borderline MVP candidate the last 2 seasons, or actually not last year, but the previous year. And this year he played pretty well. They have talented receivers. They have a really great offensive line, which obviously helped Saquon. But man, dude, it was this guy was just making great plays, making explosive plays, man. The games against the Rams, I think what did he finish with? Over 450 yards against that team, including from both the games in the regular season and playoffs. And then, of course, you have to, if you're going to have a historic season, you have to have a play that fans, that the media, or a video or a picture, something that shows how great of a player you were during that season, during that moment in time when you were arguably the best on the field. And obviously the backwards hurdle that I'm going to use a hyperbole that nearly broke the internet. But when you look at that entire play, it looks impressive. Also, there's why I take the screenshot, even though it kind of cuts off the offensive and the plan. This is incredible, man. Just the ability to, I think he was spinning out of another tackle while he jumped up in the air, hurdled a guy, and was still able to pick up a couple yards. That play is going to be looped forever. That's going to be a highlight of highlights. If you have to, do a highlight of the best plays over the last 10, 20, 15 years, Saquon's backwards hurdle is one of those. That was just an incredible, incredible run. But yeah, man. So it's tough to argue with what Saquon has done. Historic numbers, one of the best seasons we've ever seen by a player at his position, and of course a very memorable snapshot of a play, the backwards hurdle. So Yeah, offensive player of the year, absolutely. MVP, in my opinion, yes. But alrighty, let's move on. David Stegosaurus, play back that highlight. Heck yeah, man! It was that was pretty impressive. A running back jumping backwards. What? Crazy. All right, so we've talked about defensive player, offensive player. All right, we are to the final two topics here, and the second to last, the penultimate discussion, is going to be this guy right here, Josh McCormick. I don't think that's his last name. I don't think that's his middle name. Allen. I don't know his middle name, but it could be McCormick. I wouldn't be surprised. But yes, Josh Allen has won his first MVP award. And I don't think he should have won it. I think there was two guys that should have won it before he did. Saquon, obviously, and I just talked about him, and Lamar. Having said that, luckily my channel is very small, so otherwise I'm pretty sure the chat would be like, "You suck, you idiot," something like that. And who knows, that comment might be coming anyway. But I think Josh Allen was the third best player in the NFL. I understand why he got it. We've seen the NFL do this. There's nothing wrong with it, necessarily. We've seen the Oscars do this. Every award kind of system or ceremony tends to do this every couple of years. They tend to give awards to guys that maybe didn't actually have the best season necessarily, or at least, compared to the guys that maybe have been there. But I think this was one of those where, like, he played well enough. I think we can get away with giving it to him because he has been one of the best players, one of the most explosive, one of the most exciting players we have seen in a long time. Plus, we just gave it to Lamar. He already has two. Patrick Mahomes, I think, has two. Yeah, two. And so it was like, we're going to give it to Josh Allen for the first time, or are we going to give it to a running back? And we've seen the NFL. They're like, no. We don't pay running backs, and they don't win MVP. They can win a Super Bowl, maybe, but we're not going to give them those two things. So, obviously, I'm joking a little bit here. Like, if I would have been watching this live and they would have said Josh Allen, I would have been like, oh, they robbed Saquon, they robbed Lamar, blah blah blah. Josh Allen clearly had one of the best seasons we've seen a quarterback in a while. I think he was the most valuable player to his team. You take Josh Allen away from that Bills team, they don't make the playoffs. Simple as that. Even if you gave them a moderately good quarterback, I don't think that team makes the playoffs. I think they're talented, but I think Josh makes the most out of that talent. I think he gets not only the most out of his guys, but I think he is that good of a player that he can just make incredible plays with his legs, with his arms, with anything. He just incredible. The guy is borderline. Like I think I've mentioned it before. The guy's like a borderline Super Saiyan at times. Like, it's just like, what is this guy doing? This guy's flying through the air, making crazy throws, making crazy runs. The guy just turns it on at times. And while I don't agree that he should have won it, I can see why, absolutely. And I think he was deserving of an MVP at some point in his career. Probably should have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think 2 years ago. I think that's would have been his best time to get it. But yeah, man, I'm not too surprised. Also, the reason I picked this this picture is there's some really good ones. There were some amazing ones, crazy artists that did a great job, great Photoshop, great work. But this one just, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Oh my God, it's hilarious. This guy, look at this guy. He's so happy. He's so happy. You just want to pinch those cheeks. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm just joking. No, but yeah, man. Great season by Josh. I'll give you some numbers here. Sorry. Where is he? There he is. My goodness. So yeah, Josh, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, less than 4,000 yards, but he had 3,700. So like that's kind of what I was saying. Like there was guys that I think had better numbers that were just as impressive just as important to their own team, i.e. Lamar, i.e. Saquon. But once again, I understand what the NFL is doing. The more MVP quarterbacks that they can have, the more marketable it's going to be. I don't want to take this away from Josh Allen. I'm trying not to. It's sounding like it. I'm sorry. I'm really... Oh, sorry. David. Joshua Patrick Mahomes? Even when... No, I'm kidding. Patrick Allen, according to Wikipedia. I think it's cool he got it. I like him for it more than Lamar. I'll go with Saquon over Allen if you want that argument. Granted, I'm a Lamar fan. I'm a big Lamar fan. I cannot say 100% that it is not unbiased. But man, it's tough, man. It was close once again. These guys were. It was a 3-horse race. Any of those guys could have gotten it, and I would have been like, absolutely. Josh is one of those guys. I can see why they gave it to him. I think he's deserving of it. I think he should have won it a couple of years ago, but I understand why they gave it to him this year. They had just given it to Lamar. Saquon, like I said, they don't really give it to running backs anymore, unfortunately. But Josh, deserving, was impressive. Even though his numbers may not jump out at you, like it's tough to argue, man. He beat Kansas City in the regular season. He led this team that I think was less talented than the Ravens. I'll say that. Josh, I think he did more with less. And I think that's what the voters saw. And like I was kind of joking a little bit before, like with just a little bit with the they wanted to, the more guys that they can market, the better. But I think there's a little bit of truth to that, a little bit. But that should not take away from Josh's accomplishments this season. Like I said, he did more with less. And, yeah, man, I really wish they would have beaten Kansas City because I think Josh in the Super Bowl against a Philly defense, it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing. But it is what it is. He's going to have to settle for his first MVP. But congratulations to Josh Allen, man. Well-deserving. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL over the last 5 years, 6 years, honestly. And this guy's going to be competing for MVPs and Super Bowls for the next probably 10 years. So it's great to see him get his first one. And hopefully he can get a couple more, man, because I think this kid is deserving of a lot. And hopefully he can get that Super Bowl ring, not only for himself, but for that Buffalo franchise and that fan base. So... Oh, no, come on. Alrighty. So, final topic here. Of course, we have to. It is in the title of this video. We have to talk about the Super Bowl matchup that we are going to see in less than 48 hours. And it's a matchup that we all saw 2 years ago. It was an exciting, crazy finish. It looked like the Philadelphia Eagles were going to come away with a massive victory a couple seasons ago. And then Patrick, Magic Man, Houdini himself, pulled a win in the Super Bowl out of a hat. And now, 2 years later, the Eagles are back. And the Chiefs have yet to lose a Super Bowl since then. They are on a 2 consecutive Super Bowls, and they are going to try to go for a historic First time, third consecutive Super Bowl win. And it's going to be against the team that started this run. Let me see here. David, I think KC should go 4 in a row, then only make wide left turn exits this time. Oh my God, man. You want 4 in a row? My God. Somebody's getting greedy over there. I see you, David. I see you. To be fair, as a person that has played a lot of Madden games, I've had the Packers win like 15 Super Bowls in a row. So, I would be lying to you if that happened in real life. I would be grinning every single day. There would be so many people that would hate me, and I'd be like, my team's the best, huh? 15 Super Bowls in a row. But yeah, no. I think that's what. Let's be honest. We all complain about it. We all complain about like other teams winning consecutive Super Bowls. But if our teams were the one doing it, we would be like, "What's the big deal, man? What's the big deal?" But no, that'd be wild. If KC won 4 in a row, that would be. I mean, they would. Yeah. Wait, let me see here. 4 in a row. That would be. Would that be 6 Super Bowls for the franchise? Right? They won Super Bowl 3 or 4, and then they won one with Pat, like 5-6 years ago, and then now this is going to be their chance at the 4th in the franchise's history, right? Say 1, 2. No, sorry. This would be their 5th in their franchise's history. My goodness, wow. David, Packers on a 15 in a row run is cool after the Chiefs 4. You know what? We'll make that deal, sir. I agree with you. If that happens, if that's what it takes, you know what? I'll give you more than 4. I'll give the Chiefs 5 in a row. How about that? Give you 5 in a row. 5 super. I think I'm making a deal with the devil here somewhere. I don't know where he is, but there might be some dark magic happening here. It's a little auspicious that the red light is the only one that's unblocked by my head. I wouldn't be surprised if that dude just pops up and he's like, the deal is done. All right. Well, if the Chiefs win 5 in a row and the Packers start winning Super Bowls, we know what happened. Mark the day. February 7th, 2025. The day the NFL died. But anyway, matchup, man. I'm not gonna go too crazy in depth because I think we've talked about this team. I think I've talked about both of these teams. I think their defenses match up really, really well with each other, or at least they're very similar, I should say. I think the Chiefs have the most dominant defensive player still playing in the league right now, or in this game, I should say, and that is Jones. The guy is so darn disruptive, man. He is borderline Aaron Darnold disruptive. Why do I keep on saying Darnold? Aaron Donald, disruptive. Jones is just an incredible player, man. Whether he's knocking passes down at the line of scrimmage, whether he's penetrating and just knocking back running backs for like 3 or 4 or 5 yards, getting after the quarterback, making plays even after the quarterback has broken the pocket. The guy is just a game wrecker. The literal definition of a game wrecker. The front 7 for that Kansas City team, Karlaftis, you have guys that can really create great pressure, but also are just great smart guys, man. They know how to wrap up. They play well together. They flow to the ball effortlessly. We've seen so many times where teams are trying to kind of move the pocket, whether it's for the running back or the quarterback. And those guys just find ways to just create holes for linebackers to just come in there and just knock the back down. We see it week in and week out. And I don't think that gets talked about enough with this Kansas City defense. I think the offense gets a lot of the not only the attention, but a lot of the criticism And I think that criticism is almost blanketed to the entire team. And I believe that this defense, there's maybe 2 or 3 games where they did not play well. Otherwise, they have played like one of the best. The stats are not as impressive as they used to be a couple years ago, but they are still one of the most dangerous defenses in the NFL. And I think they're going to have a pretty solid time challenging this Eagles offensive line that has played really well, but you started to see some cracks in the second half of that Commanders game. Granted, they were dealing with injuries, but hey, man, everybody's injured at this point. You have to put the best players, and those guys have to perform. And if KC can have an impressive game and they can play to their ability, that's going to be really, really tough for that offensive line to hold on, man. They're going to have to play at their best. Now going over to the Eagles defense. Their front seven, I think, as a whole, they may not have a single player that is as dominant as Jones, but as a collective, dude, young, fast, strong as hell, and they hit you hard. Like you saw, and that it pains me to bring this up. I'm only going to do this once, so enjoy it. Bears, Vikings, and Lions fans. The Eagles absolutely just destroyed. Absolutely, not just in beating them, but they literally beat the poop out of my Green Bay Packers. Like, you saw that game. Receivers, defensive players, guys were just dropping, offensive linemen, they were dropping left and right, man. And for some of those, it was because they got hit. Like, especially the receivers, man. Those guys were just taking shots. And the secondary, the linebackers on that Eagles defense, they fly around and they hit you hard, man. Like, it's not like, I'm just going to try to, wrap you up by your leg and hopefully the rest of my team. No, these guys just smack you in the mouth and they bury you into the ground. So they are a hard-hitting team, and they are fast and they are strong. Bond, Wisconsin Badger, always going to mention it. Let's go. That dude is playing out of his mind. It's insane. Like, the guy, like, there were times where I'm like, oh yeah, there must have been another linebacker, because I'm pretty sure Bond was like in the middle of the field, but somehow he's like almost 25 yards to the sidelines. No, it was Bond. Yeah, that dude just sprinted, went through traffic, went through a bunch of bodies, and somehow got to the ball carrier and made a play. Like, that dude is always around the ball. It is insane how incredible he has been this season. But yeah, he's been a big part of, like the defensive line was always been really good for the Eagles the last like 3 or 4 years. They've drafted very, very well, thanks to Georgia. They have a lot of Georgia Bulldogs in that defense. But that linebacking core has really just skyrocketed over the last, I would say the back half of the season has really, you've seen them just kind of ascend. And then I think the biggest improvement for this Eagles defense has been the secondary. They basically reworked that entire secondary from their top 3 corners to their top 3 safeties. Almost different. I'm pretty sure they're a lot of the guys that were playing during that Tampa playoff game that they got their butts whooped. I don't think a single guy is still the starter after that game. They brought C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. They drafted DeJean, the mustard man. Mitchell, Darius Slay is healthy. He was not healthy, I think, during that Tampa game. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, dude. Just an incredible secondary. Great job by the GM there. Just drafting great players that just fit the scheme and just seem to be playing at a high level at such a young age. So I think that's been the biggest improvement for that defense, and it just put a cap. It put a cherry on top of what was already a really good defense, and I think it put them over the edge. So, talking about Kansas City's defense, back end, the defensive backs, because I don't think I mentioned it. They're talented as heck, man. We've seen those guys play at a high level, And I think the front seven for Kansas City, I think, helps out a lot. If I had to compare the secondaries, I think Kansas City's is not as deep. It still has a lot of talent, and I think they play well and they make good plays, but I don't think they're as deep as the Eagles. And I think that may be a chance right there for that Eagles passing game. If they can take advantage of that, if they can make plays, I mean, they have talented receivers. If those guys can have a field day against that secondary, it might be able to neutralize some of the pressure that you see from that front seven of Kansas City. So we talked about the defenses. I think those are going to be the stars. But now let's talk about the offenses. Both of these offenses for stretches, more so for Kansas City, but they have gone stretches where they have looked rough. Outside of Saquon, where I think he maybe had one or two games where he didn't play to what we're used to seeing this season from him. Like, we've seen the Eagles' passing game kind of be borderline pedestrian at times. And I think a lot of that has to do less with the talent and more to do with the chemistry and the timing. A lot of that's, what we saw. And it's a very different problem from what we've seen from Kansas City, whose timing and chemistry best in the NFL, especially between Mahomes and his tight ends, as well as with I'm trying to think of his name. I can't think of his name. Oh my goodness! But regardless, I'll move on. I don't want to get derailed. The chemistry between Kansas City and that offense is just incredible, phenomenal. But for some reason, whether it's they're just trying to play it, I don't want to say safe, but whether they're like, hey, we'll dink and dunk ourselves down the field. We don't have to go for the big play. Granted, I think Kansas City has also dealt with a lot of injuries to the receivers. I'm pretty sure they're without two of their top guys that started out the season for them. Rice, and I'm trying to think of the other guy, but I can't. Let me see here. David Stegosaurus, Cooper, DeJean Mustard. Let's go. Dejan. Van down by the River Jefferson. Oh my god, I forgot about Van down by the River Jefferson. Let's go. Heck yeah, man. Cooper, Dejan Mustard. But yeah, man. So yeah, the chemistry between Kansas City and their offense, great, no problem. Even that offensive line that has had its ups and downs, they always seem to do a great job of not getting into penalties or getting into bad situations when Mahomes starts to kind of do his run backs, stuff like that. And I think you see that all the time when like a quarterback is trying to make a great play, trying to scramble, trying to find, and his offensive linemen just panic. They start grabbing, they start pulling down, things like that, because at the end of the day, you're trying to protect the quarterback. You'd rather take a penalty than have your guy just get smacked. But Mahomes just, I don't know if it's something that they drill or whatever it is. That offensive line just does a great job of trusting Mahomes to not put himself in a bad situation. And they just continue to pass block, and they don't create a whole lot of penalties. Having said that offensive line needs to line up and stop doing a lot of false starts. That's where they get in trouble, but it's a whole different thing. But yeah, man, Kansas City, their running game, okay, clearly not as good as the Eagles, but it's a place where it's a spot where if you don't respect it, Pacheco, Hunt, those guys have proven in the NFL that they're gonna have a day. They can go off for 150, multiple touchdowns, if you do not account for them or you don't respect them. So that is where I think if Kansas City can establish even a moderately dangerous run, it's going to be a long day for that Eagles defense, because I think Mahomes, Kelsey, those guys they're gonna create plays. That's just what they do. They always have done it. It's been multiple years where they see, even when they're having a slow day, they turn it on when they need to, and I highly doubt this is going to be a blowout. So that's the Kansas City. That's my opinion on their offense. Let me finish up with the Philly offense as well. So I talked about their struggles in the passing game. When they are on, they look like one of the most talented offenses in the NFL because they are. They have A.J. Brown. They have Jalen, who can just run all over the field. We've seen this guy put up some massive numbers on the ground and be just dangerous throughout. Devonta Smith. They have Dallas Goedert, who is a very, very dangerous tight end if you do not account for him. We saw that last week. Really, really, really solid game. And the offensive line. They did not have their best game against the Commanders, but they have been one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, even after losing their Hall of Fame center. Heck of a job. David, honestly, I think KC somehow gets the team to realize it's not about individual accolades. It's about winning as a team, no matter who makes the plays or who is in the spotlight. That is fair. That is very, very fair. Even when they were struggling offensively this in the regular season, I don't remember ever hearing anybody complain. And like, I don't know if you get to, in this kind of, in comparison to what you saw with Philly, with A.J. Brown at some point. I don't know exactly what he said, but it basically came out to like, we need the ball. I need the ball. And I think some people took that as like an ego thing. And granted, it's a receiver. It's like, I don't mean to stereotype receivers, but they want the ball. That's why they play receiver. They want the ball in their hands. It's just kind of how it is with those guys. I've never met a receiver that is incredibly humble the entire time. You know, those guys want the ball. They want to make plays. That's just how it is. But yeah, it's been impressive, man. I think Andy Reid and that organization have really been able to keep the guys just together. You know, especially when you have this kind of success, it's very easy to start seeing guys get a little wild. And granted, there's been definitely some players, Rashid Rice, but usually those are the young guys. Those are the young guys that kind of were, you know, got a success immediately. But when you got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got guys that have been around for a while, those are the guys that are kind of your anchors, and I think they've done well. I'm hesitant to bring up the referees in this because let's be honest, we have seen some things that are not consistent, but I also don't want to take away from this because I don't want it to be like, oh, if Kansas City wins, oh, it was because of the refs, or it was because the NFL wants. I think it's something you can talk about. I think it's something you can scrutinize for sure, but I don't believe it should be something that should steal away from what Kansas City has done and what they could potentially do in 2 days. So that's all I'm going to leave it to. I don't want to go into it because it starts to get into like conspiracy and I think it just kind of, it makes the game icky and you get into a weird spot. Like, football should just be about enjoyment. If you truly believe that the NFL is doing all that, I would say stop watching because you're just going to be mad and going to get annoyed with it. I choose to find the pure part of it, the competitiveness. I can be frustrated and annoyed that it happens, but at the end of the day, it's whatever. It's not gonna take my bandwidth. You know, it's too much for that. I'll just leave it at that. So, but yeah, man. Obviously, the crowning thing that's probably gonna push the Eagles to a win here is gonna be Saquon. If Kansas City can slow him down, and they put it on Jalen Hurts, I am very curious of how that looks, man, because Jalen really hasn't had to do that. At least this season. We've seen it the previous years, and he's done pretty darn well. He's a really talented, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Easily top 10, probably top 5. But it will be very curious if if KC can bottle up Saquon as much as they can. I think he's still going to have a good night regardless. If they can slow him down and put more pressure on Jalen Hurts, I'll be very curious to see how that offense responds, that Philly offense responds. And yeah, man, I think this is going to be a good Super Bowl. It is not the matchup I wanted. I wanted Commanders and Bills simply because we were going to get something for the first time, guaranteed. We were going to see the Bills win a Super Bowl, which I really want that franchise to win something. And the Commanders, seeing a rookie quarterback lead his team to the Super Bowl. You can only get that once with a player. You can only have one rookie season. After that, it's gone. It is what it is. But we still have a chance at a first. We can still see the Kansas City team be the first ones to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. That'll be pretty cool. That'll be pretty interesting. But once again, I will be rooting for the Eagles / mostly Saquon to kind of put a cap on arguably the greatest season a running back has had. So, yeah, man. I'm going to stick on just for a couple more minutes. Please let me know in the comments below. David, I want to get your take on this, man. What are you looking forward to the most? What are you expecting? And also, for fun, what are you going to be eating during the game? What's your favorite Super? Let's be honest. I think the stat says that there's more food consumed during the Super Bowl than even in Thanksgiving. So let's talk about it, man. What's your go-to snack? What's your go-to meal during the Super Bowl? And for those of you asking, I will be snacking just a little bit during the game. Don't worry, I'll turn off the mic or off to the side. You won't be seeing me just gouge into a chicken leg, stuff like that. But yeah, before we head out, yeah, let me know what you're looking forward to the most during the game. I know I didn't talk about the halftime show. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to be. I might mute during that because I really want to see the performance. I might go back and forth, but I do want to hear that one live. So, but yeah, yeah, hop in the chat, man. Let me know what you guys think, please. All right. And the in-laws for the game: meatballs, nachos, absolutely, with a hamburger in it. Ooh, very good. Some boneless wings, a veggie platter, and a root beer float is what was decided for food. David, can I go to your house? Can I stream from your house? Because that sounds delicious, sir. Dahlia, what's going on? Welcome. Haven't thought about it. Haven't thought about that food. I'm behind here. I know. It's all right. Luckily, it's all recorded. But yeah, man. Oh, dang, dude. Yeah, man. Meatballs. Meatballs are underrated, man. They're an underrated food. They don't get enough. They do not get enough play during like snacks. Kind of like talking about that, man. Dude, I haven't had a root beer float in years, man. In years. I don't know if it was the ice cream that I was using or like I'm not a big soda drinker really at all. So I think maybe that was what it was. But I always like after drinking like less than half, I would always get a stomach ache, and I could never finish it. I felt like a 5-year-old that didn't want to eat his food. But yeah. Dahlia, I guess I'm going to David's, right? David, tell the in-laws you got some people coming over, man. Don't worry, we'll be nice, and we'll bring food too, or beer. Maybe we'll bring alcohol, at least. Heck yeah, man. So I think we covered just about most of the big stories here, and so just before we head out here, so obviously we will be streaming the game, um, the entire one. I'm so excited, man. First Super Bowl I will be calling. Uh, yeah, dude. I'm not gonna get into it. I think I talked about it before, man. Big dream of mine. Um, yeah, man. The fact that I'm gonna be able to do that is gonna be so awesome. But then on top of that, we will actually be going live after the Super Bowl. Anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Honestly, as long as people want to hang out and talk after the game, we will stay on. I don't care if it's all the way until 2 a.m. I don't care. If people want to talk and hang out, we'll do it. So yeah, but at the very least, we will be going live for at least an hour, half an hour, whatever it is. But yeah, man. But yeah, that's the big stuff. I'm trying to think here. Still finalizing some of the stuff I'm going to be doing in the off season. My family was able to get a place near Green Bay, so we will be going to the draft. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to upload some content because I think the place I might be staying at does not have great Wi-Fi or great internet. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use it. It's an Airbnb, so I don't know if they'll even allow me to use it. We'll see. But regardless, once I get if I can't do that there, I'll try to live stream on my phone. And then the stuff that I record, I'll once I get home, I'll edit it and try to basically get it out as quickly as I can. Hopefully it only takes me a couple days, but give me a little bit of give me some time here because I'm still getting better as an editor. But yeah, man, I'm just so excited for the draft. Once again, we'll be doing some film breakdowns during the season here. After the Super Bowl, it might be about a week or two between those because I'm gonna try to bank some in just so I can get you guys consistent content. That way I have a schedule. But as we get closer to that, I will kind of tell you when those videos are gonna drop. It'll be specific days. I'm hoping to get at least 2 videos out to you guys every week during the off season of kind of like that, along with the draft. Sorry, the draft, and then during the summer, I'm gonna try to do some previews of teams, talking about maybe even some historic stuff. The production might not be what I want it to be at the time, but it's gotta start somewhere. So. We'll keep it going, man, and yeah, everything is always going to be updated. I'm always going to keep you guys informed of what I'm doing, what I'm planning, and we're just going to keep it going, man. It's been a wild. It hasn't even been a full year of this channel, but I feel like it's grown a lot. I feel like I've gotten better, and hopefully I've been entertaining. Even if you're laughing at me, man, it's all good as long as I can get you to laugh or have a good time. That's all that matters, and. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun time, man. This is just the beginning, and we're gonna continue to do it because I love it, man. There's nothing else I want to do. This is I hope can be a long thing that I can do to the end, man, and it's gonna be fun. So hopefully you guys stick around. Thank you to David for being in the chat, man. I appreciate you, Dahlia. Same thing. Let me see here, Dahlia. I'm off for the season as soon as the Pack are out. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you need a break. Me, I am addicted to it. I'm already saying, put it in me, man. Put it in my veins. It's not going to stop. Yeah, I got a problem. I got a problem. But no, I think it's healthy. It's healthy to kind of disengage. Get a life outside of football. I do not. I do not have a life, man. It's all right. It's too exhausting to have a life. I'm like, oh, I'd rather stay home. But yeah, man. Thank you. We're gonna end it here, and I'll see you guys on Super Bowl Sunday, man. So please drop in if you can. I know it's gonna be a crazy busy day, probably. If you're gonna be watching the game, probably have some family, friends, whatever it is. Have a great time, man. Eat plenty of food. Make it memorable. Whether you're wanting one of these teams to win or whether you don't care. Maybe you're just watching the halftime. Either way, I hope it's great. And I hope you can pop in. If you can, great. Otherwise, have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll catch you guys on hopefully what is a great, great Super Bowl. So, I'll catch you guys later. And I'm going to try to do something that I haven't done in a while. Hopefully this works. So, thank you so much, guys. I will catch you later, and... David can do how bad were the Super Bowl commercial stream in oh yeah, that'd be a good one. That would be a good one. Top 5, top 10. Heck yeah, let's go. Let me know if you could hear the audio for that intro. I was trying to test it before the stream and I could not get it going. So hopefully I changed a few things before I went live, so but yeah. Heck yeah, man. David, thank you for the suggestion. I will definitely take that into consideration. But yeah. Alright, guys. I'm out of here. I'm going to probably be checking the audio on that last, the outro there. But yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night. And I'll catch you guys later. Nice outro. Audio was good. Let's go! Woo! Thank you, David. Appreciate you. Alright, guys. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.